Okay, so we'll just get rolling. I'm seeing some new faces here, some new clients as well, which is great. So, every week we kind of speed through the intro and the general concept of what is social selling and what are we doing with this approach. But I will make sure we cover that today because we have some first timers in here. This lunch and learn, again, we try to keep this very quick, to the point. Ideally, we have an actual takeaway each week. We don't want to do the long-winded introduction, but we do need to do an introduction just for the sake of the newcomer so you can get on board with the general process from 30,000 feet and what it is that we're actually talking about. So we'll do that each week, and then we'll focus on one key takeaway, one nugget that we think is going to be useful, and then we'll pop into Q&A. And if there's no Q&A, we move on. We take all these social selling videos and we put them up on our website, BN.Digital. So you can review those. Just an FYI, we are going to be putting that behind a wall. So we'll have, I think, videos going out to attendees, and then we'll have some sort of very low payment threshold membership at some point where you can access all of these videos. Who am I? Why should you care? Basically, I've been in deal origination for the duration of my career in different capacities. Really started out with private equity, doing deal origination for boutique private equity group, and moved into business ownership where I was a search funder and went and looked for deals, looked for business to buy, got into that, kept growing through acquisition, never really stopped looking at businesses. And then that led me into BizNexus and BN.Digital. BizNexus is our platform for intermediary vetted deals, public deals, and BN.Digital is our agency for proprietary deal flow, for off-market deal flow. I did a presentation yesterday with the CBBBA. Neil, I see you in the audience. That's great. Had a great time yesterday. Thanks for having me. And I took a couple of these slides from that presentation, just looped them in here because of the overlap with what we're talking about on a weekly basis. Basically, what changes have there been in deal origination since this whole world flip-flopped on us when COVID came into the picture? There were a lot of changes that have been taking place for years, just in terms of automating the top of your deal flow funnel. All of that has really just accelerated. So I think that really blends in nicely with the concept of social selling and what we're doing. Basically, the beginning of the conversation should be more automated, and the break bread in-person conversation ideally takes place after you've had a few touches across channels, so your prospect is familiar with who you are, what you do, why you matter to them. They've seen some social proof. So all of these talks are about strategies to make that happen. The point of all of this, everything that we talk about week over week over week, is to get the sit down, to get the cup of coffee. In this environment, that might be the Zoom meeting, right? But we are building a network of primary prospects. So for business brokers, for buyout, for search funders, that's going to be the business owner, right? Somebody who's been running a business for a certain amount of time. The company has a certain head count, industries that you're targeting, whether that's a geographical search or whether it's by industry, by niche. And then we also target the referral flywheel, right? So financial advisors, accountants, lawyers, maybe divorce lawyers, if you're in that kind of geographic focused area, whatever referral prospects can deliver your primary prospects on an ongoing basis, that winds up being more important than any proprietary deal flow strategy that you have in the long run, right? If you're building a brokerage practice, if you can really build up that referral network, anyone who's in business brokerage especially, there are a lot of old timers who just rely on referrals and they do really, really well. They do zero outreach. I'm not advocating that, but that does demonstrate the power of a good referral network. And with the tools that are available online now, like LinkedIn, you can really blow that up. You can have a very active referral network that doesn't necessarily have to be in your backyard. 5 stages of social selling that we talk about every week. We have the first phase, optimizing your profile, right? Profiles, your online brand, making sure that your online brand speaks directly to the pain points of your end prospect. It's not all about you. It's not, your LinkedIn isn't a third person description of you and your accomplishments. when your prospect lands on your website, lands on any of your profiles, they should clearly see a solution to their problems. That's optimizing the profile. Targeting, that blends into the discussion about data. You want to make sure that your targeting is very, very spot on, right? So your primary prospects, your referral prospects, make sure that the data is clean, make sure that the data is complete, that you ultimately get, their, not only their email, but their LinkedIn, their Facebook, their Twitter, their website, their address, everything that you'd need to arm yourself for a cold call, even though the point of a social selling program is that your call is going to take place when you're already warm, when you're already familiar with each other. But you want to make sure you have all that data, not only so that you can have a good productive meeting or call or Zoom, but also so that you can run integrated campaigns across channel, right? Because you want to be able to touch these prospects across multiple channels. And we'll continue to talk about that. The building phase, that's building campaigns, specific campaigns for each prospect, right? So if you're doing something, if you're doing efforts on LinkedIn or on email, that should flow into landing pages, newsletters, drips that are very specific for that target that you're approaching. Everything should feel like it's geared specifically towards them, towards that prospect. So you're building multiple campaigns, not just one drip, but campaigns that fit with each prospect. And that blends into the nurturing, right? So whether it's a drip, whether it's a newsletter, whether it's ongoing social posting, you want to educate your prospects about who you are, how you do what you do, why it's relevant to them. Show, don't tell, show them your social proof. And that's going to familiarize them with you, your brand, your offering, so that when they're in a position to think about a business valuation, to think about what their exit scenario might look like, you're first in line, you're ready to capture. And that's the final phase where, lately in this environment, we've seen webinars being a great tool for capturing. Gives you an excuse to call a prospect, to reach out to a prospect, to email them prior to the webinar, ask if there are any questions that you'd like to answer, and then follow up. Capturing is really just getting that one-on-one, face-to-face, so that you can insert your ask when that time is appropriate. Another slide from the presentation I did yesterday. It's ugly, but it delivers the message. So we might actually have the interns doctor this one up and make it look a little more pretty for you next week. This is the deal flow funnel, right? So if you're not familiar with the concept of a funnel, basically the conversations that you should be having with any prospect, let's say John Doe business owner, at the top of the funnel, that's going to be a message about, it's going to be very quick to the point, who you are, why you matter to them. Think of it as meeting somebody in a conference for the first time, and you have that quick elevator pitch that gives them a 5-second window to decide if you're relevant, if they would even want to continue a conversation with you or not. We see cold email, LinkedIn, drop notes working very well in this environment for that part of the funnel, for that piece of the conversation, right? You want to make sure that they are curious about who you are, what you offer. That's it. That's your goal. Moving closer to the bottom of the funnel, to the mid funnel. This is the education, the enlightenment phase of the funnel, right? So how do you let them know that what you do, who you are, what you offer really matters to them? How is it done? How does it solve their problems, their pain points? We advocate social posting, especially through LinkedIn, because there's such great organic reach on LinkedIn, the way the platform is set up. If you're doing it correctly, you can almost guarantee that your messaging is getting in front of your target prospect on an ongoing basis for free. So social posting is a great way to do that, posting in a manner where you're sharing information that helps establish you as a qualified authority in your niche, in the area of business acquisition and sale. Rolling any contacts, any prospects who have accepted to be in your Twitter network, Facebook network, LinkedIn network, or on any of your webinar lists, making sure those prospects get rolled over into a newsletter where, really with business brokers, we say once a month. With buyout, once a quarter can even work, but making sure that you're touching these prospects on an ongoing basis, reminding them who you are. Even if a newsletter doesn't get opened, if a prospect sees your business name, your name in an email subject line, and it's coming through on a regular basis, you're staying top of mind, right? You're keeping that prospect somewhat warm. You're reminding them that you're there. It's very powerful. middle of the funnel retargeting. If you're going to spend any money on advertising, we always advocate retargeting, and that could be a separate social selling presentation on its own. And you're making sure that you put these prospects into the warm drips. And just to wrap this funnel concept up, the closing portion, the best tools that we see for converting these prospects, for getting that cup of coffee, for getting the sit down in a non-COVID environment or even a COVID environment these days when people are meeting, phone, Zoom, direct email, the newsletter with a clear CTA button to get your free business valuation, or call for a confidential chat about your exit plan. That's what works with the conversion phase. So again, end goal of all of this, get the sit down. That's what we talk about on an ongoing basis. Updates here for the week. BizNexus referral link. We've seen some good activity, but just want to drill that home. You get your own referral link in your profile, send it out. You'll get a free boosted listing, a free boosted profile, and a free month of premium. If you're buyout, if you're search funder, if you're a business broker, that's buy side tools, right? The ability to get all the data, the ability to save searches, have those sent to you. So free, just send out your referral link. BN.Digital, we have this new digital sales and marketing hub. We're bringing our current clients on for beta, but if you want to sign up for the wait list and you're not a current client, or you are a current client, I will put this into the chat. So let me put this right here. If you want to sign up for that, it's basically everything from mid to bottom of the funnel. We've got it covered. We have a CRM in there and all the tools for your drips and your retargeting advertising to do everything that we're talking about here in these presentations. So that's that. Where are we today? These things, again, we try to focus on something clear, takeaway value. We've had a lot of questions about Sales Navigator, right? What to do when you're signed on for Sales Navigator, how to use that, not just for targeting and for lead generation, but for ongoing nurturing. So today, honestly, I'm just going to hop into LinkedIn and I'm going to play around and I'm going to show you some of my favorite features of Sales Nav, what I think works really well for deal origination and for for ongoing nurturing. And then I'll be very honest about what I think is atrocious with Sales Navigator, and where I see people really losing this tool and burning time. So let's just pop in to LinkedIn. And again, if you have any questions, just fire away. We can address them in the Q&A. But typically we've been light on Q&A, but people seem to get the value from this. So what I'm going to do first, okay, so it's Sales Navigator. This is LinkedIn. It gets frustrating when people have just signed on for Sales Navigator. These are two completely different environments. You have LinkedIn and then you have Sales Navigator. Where we see a lot of people get lost, these are actually two separate inboxes. So you might get a message from a prospect, and quite frankly, from quarter to quarter, the way LinkedIn is pushing their updates, you don't know where that message is going to come, if it's going to come into your LinkedIn environment or into your Sales Navigator, where if you go into messaging, you'll get your Sales Navigator messages right there. So that's one major downfall for Sales Navigator when you're talking about the learning curve. People lose messages, people lose track of conversations very easily, which is a shame considering Microsoft owns LinkedIn. They should, in my mind, just be dominating this in the CRM game entirely, but they're not. So this Sales Navigator interface, it's a little confusing, but basically what you'll see on these alerts, right? You have all of your alerts. You can see account alerts, which are company alerts, or lead alerts. And this is where it starts to get really valuable with lead alerts. If you don't have the Sales Navigator app, I highly recommend that, because if you're sitting down, if you're in line for coffee, the Sales Navigator app is much easier to use for nurturing purposes, for staying top of mind with identified tier 1 prospects, right? So what does all of that mean? Let me show you. Let's say you're a search funder or buyout biz dev or business broker, you're someone who's in charge of deal origination, right? You're trying to go after the business owners, the referral networks. One thing we can do, you can see for me, I have a different business. I'm not a business broker, but it's in this area, business acquisition and sale. You can save lists for all of these referral networks, for your competition, for strategic partners, for potential hires, and utilize that. And I can continue to show you that on an ongoing basis. But today we're going to create a list, and let's just say we're going to do this, I don't know, financial advisors demo. Okay, so I'm going to create a list of financial advisors. All right. Now I'm going to, and you can do the same thing with accounts, right? So if there is a company that you really want to target and you just want to get in, you can save that as an account. You can save key people inside that account and try to stay in front of them that way if you're really chasing a big lead or a big commission, et cetera. So what I'm going to do is a search. Get out of this main search bar, right? Forget it. Just go into all filters. And if you're searching for prospects, go into lead filters. If you're searching for companies, go into account filters. Now with lead filters, you want to keep this open. All right. This is where you want to be. I'll show you why in a second, but this allows you to really play with the results. Keywords, I'm very, very big on keywords. BizNexus is built on keywords. That's something that differentiates us. And a lot of that inspiration came from LinkedIn. We really like to use keywords to get very, very specific on our searches. Boolean search, maybe we go into that, maybe not. We'll see where this conversation goes. But relationship, are they in your immediate network? That's a first degree connection. Are they a second degree connection, right? Are they in a shared group? Stay away from third degree connections unless somebody really has something clearly in common with you. You don't want to mess around with that too much. We like to always go after people who, have someone in common with us, right? I mean, there's overlap. It's a better way to leverage LinkedIn. You don't want to just go cold. You're trying to build relationships. You're trying to build value. This is not a conversion channel. This is not something where you just want to close a sale. This is the tip of the spear. You're beginning a relationship that can have tremendous value over time across multiple channels. Don't burn that relationship on LinkedIn. Push value, right? So second degree connections, let's say title, right? So we want financial advisor for this list. Let's say wealth manager, maybe financial planner. You can see I've got 13,000 results. I don't want 13,000 results. All right. So I'm going to say, let's go with Florida. All right. A lot of financial advisors in Florida. Now I'm down to 1,500. Still, maybe that's not what I'm looking for. Maybe I'm focused on tech, right? So I want to play with this with keywords now. So I want SaaS, 2 results. Okay. Let's say technology. Okay. And with Boolean search, this might be too specific for people who are on the call, but just so you know, you can combine keyword terms. So if I say or, this will broaden the results. I can say technology or website. Okay, so that list just went up to 326. Now, if I wanted to narrow it down so that a result has technology and website, then I'm going to say and that gets down to 31. All right, so let's just check this out and see what we get. Other filters that I love, typically, industry, obviously, headcount. If you're looking at business owners with referral networks, be careful with that. Financial advisors really doesn't matter with the headcount, but maybe if you're looking for accountants or lawyers, you want to go with smaller firms, get in with a relationship. Years of experience. Maybe if you're looking for somebody who's just building a book of business, they're going to be more open to referral partnerships. Maybe if you're working with somebody who's been in the business for 20 years, not so much. They've already got the referral network set up. shared groups is a great way to target if you wanted to look at something like high net worth advisors and service providers. Okay, so that list just went down to 0, right? So you need to play around with this to make sure that you get the right results. But I like 31, so I'm going to play with this. Now, if you're in Sales Navigator and you're using the search functionality, this is a disaster if you want to use this vertical column from a UI perspective. If I put in third degree, what it's going to do is, let's say this, if I put in seniority level, let's say owner, playing around with this, it'll just keep snapping you up to the top of the page, and it gets very frustrating. So that's why I always recommend going back into the open box. If you're going to be doing this, you'll wind up wasting a lot less time. Just take that from experience, right? So getting back into this, financial advisor, Primerica, financial advisor investments, financial advisor holiday. You can see these financial advisors are all in Florida. I'm just going to save a couple. So I'm going to save this to my list, right? This is a great financial advisor. This is somebody who's highly relevant to me. Saving this person to my list, okay? Primerica. Sometimes they'll have 2 current jobs. You need to choose which account you want to save. But this is the process. Now with Sales Navigator searches, what you often find is the first 5 results may be spot on, and then you start getting some real duds, right? You need to filter through this. So if you're working with an admin, if you're working with a VA, this can wind up becoming very time consuming as you're curating a list, as you're refining a list. If you do it, it's very valuable, but you start, where we've seen people get into trouble is the time that you can wind up wasting on LinkedIn doing this. But if you do it and you get the end result, it's very valuable because you'll have these lists, you'll have saved searches, and when you go into your homepage, you can see all of their updates. And now we get into the nurturing, right? Now we get into staying top of mind with someone who you know is a prospect who you want to stay in front of. You can very quickly with the app go through and like their content, right? So if they're sharing something, you can just do a like. You can go in and view their profile, and your face will show up on the Who's Viewed Me. People check this all the time. You can comment on their content. Be tasteful. Don't be aggressive. Don't be, it's very easy to cross the line and seem like a creepy stalker. Don't do that. But if you want to stay in front of a really high value prospect, you could go in and see what groups are they in, right? Can you check their groups and see if you have any shared groups? If not, could you share an interest, share a group, and then when they're commenting in a group, or if you're commenting in a group, your content is going to wind up in the top of their feed when you're posting that in a shared group. That's just the way the algorithm works. So staying in front of these prospects on an ongoing basis up until the point where you can invite them to your Zoom, your webinar about how to coordinate with a financial advisor with your brokerage practice, something that's direct. It gives you a clear excuse to reach out after you've warmed up a prospect. So that's other engagement tactics, liking content, commenting, direct invite where you can for highly relevant events. We see that working with Zoom events a lot. Again, being active in the shared groups. And if you really have a valuable contact, you can ask for an introduction from a shared contact, but be careful with that, right? We've seen a lot of people make mistakes there. What does not work on Sales Navigator? Things again that I hate, the multiple inboxes, their UI. Again, if you're leveraging Sales Navigator, it can be very, very powerful. But ideally, you're getting these prospects and you're pulling them into a CRM so that you can touch them across multiple channels. Managing the messaging, the sales process, the tasks. Sales Navigator has that functionality, but it's a disaster. And I again, whatever CRM you're going to use, I recommend doing that from your CRM, not from LinkedIn's UI, because you will lose conversations, and it's just not there. I don't know why, but it's not even close. So again, the time suck for the UI, the inconsistency of search results. You need to be careful with that. and it does become time consuming, even if you're using a VA or an admin to help you with that. Recommendations, especially for business brokerage, tend to be pretty off. And then again, any of the CRM functionality, lead tracking, tasks, message tracking, if they sync with your calendar, it does really nothing. That's not there. So that's it. That's a quick walkthrough for SalesNav. If you have anything that you want me to do now, I'm happy to pop in there and do it as a demo. Otherwise, we give these things about 30 seconds for a question, and then I cut it off. We always send a link at the end of the Lunch and Learn. What did you like? What did you not like? How many stars, etc. And if you have any suggestions, we're shaping these Lunch and Learns each week on your feedback on what we see happening that's wrong, and on what people put into the feedback for this form. So, not getting any questions, getting some shout outs, which is nice. I'll peel off, and hopefully this is valuable. See you all next week. Thanks.